Hello guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to replace the starter pulley on your Husqvarna 372 XP. This may also work for some other models, I believe the 365 as well. And this part here is the housing, and this is the new one. And the problems you might be encountering if you actually need a new one of these will be that the saw may have eaten its own starter rope. And what I mean by that is that the rope itself that's tightly wound in there is actually broken while the saw is running. So you're just running the saw, you haven't pulled the rope and it's broke, but you're running it through wood, and the pull rope has snapped and the handle's flown off and the saw has stopped. And you're like, why has that happened? And usually what happens is in here, the rope gets eaten by the flywheel, because there's a bit of play in these, and you'll see this when I open this up and you'll see the play, but there's a bit of play in the pulley, and it sort of moves up and down, and in the end the flywheel sucks the recoil rope into the flywheel's path, which obviously pulls and rips it. It can also pull in any wires on the outside as well, so any wires on, because there's a bit of a cowling here that goes to the comes up to the magneto here that does the spark, and there's a wire that runs to the on and off switch, and essentially it pulls that that wire in as well and can break that as well. So you can end up with quite a problematic repair where you have to replace both the wire, the pulley and the recoil. Now luckily I already have a new recoil string on this, because that situation did actually happen to me. I've also got a new wire fitted in this one, because it did pull that wire in. But just some things to be aware of when you're, that's the reason that you might want to replace one of these. And if you've had this problem, then this is probably why it's happened. Anyway, let's get into it and see if we can get this fixed. Right, start by removing the 4 screws. Hold the cover on. Okay, and there we go. That is the recoil housing off. We can just put the chainsaw to one side for a second. I'll just show you this. These are the wire. This is what I had to replace. And this is the flywheel. And these are the keys that engage it, which engages onto the handle, onto the pulley, of course. And essentially, the flywheel's spinning around really fast, and eventually it starts to pull in the rope, and it wraps it round, and the rope also catches on this wire and pulls this in, and then it rips this blue wire, which goes to the on and off switch. As you can see, that's obviously no good. So what you have to do is you have to mess around with this little fella, and this is hopefully the same part as what we've got in this bag. So yeah, let's get on with repairing this now. Okay, so now we're here at this point, and we're going to have to get rid of the tension on the spring, which is in the recoil. So simply pull the rope all the way out of your recoil system. Oh, actually, I'll show you this as well, which is the play in this. You can see it's moving backwards and forwards a bit, and that is enough play. So, if you're having this problem, then this is probably what it is. And I probably could get away with not replacing this one. It's sort of alright, but just to avoid it happening and having to buy a new wire again, I'm going to properly do it and replace it. So pull out your rope all the way, then get yourself a flathead driver, and simply pull the rope through, back through the recoil system. I'm going to pull it all the way like that. Simple. And then there's a little hole, and you can just gently follow the spring around and let all the tension out by simply putting it in that hole and following it around. You don't want this recoil rope to rewind, you're just letting it essentially just go round with it, and that detensions the spring. So now I can pull that all the way out and through, and as you can see, there's barely any tension on that spring anymore. That's how you detension your spring. If you ever do wonder how to detention it, it's pretty simple, just like that. So now we detension the spring. we can simply remove this central screw, and then we can get on with the rest of the repair. So I think it's a number 5. I think it's a number 5 Allen key. I think it might not be, but yeah, it should just remove like that. It's pretty easy, and that's it off. And then you should be able to just remove the whole assembly just like that. Now, what you're going to have to probably do is also remove the handle from the whole system. This is going to make it all a lot easier, because we're going to want to keep this rope probably if you've got new rope. If not, then just replace the rope as well, buy some more rope along with the pulley. But I've already got this rope, is almost new, so I'm going to untie this and then hope to salvage this rope. So I'll just do that now, remove the rope from the pulley. Essentially all I'm going to do is untie it from in here, inside the pulley. It's just I've just knotted it inside the little middle bit there, as you can see. So untie that, untie it on this end, and then the rope will be free, and then I'll show you how to get this spring out. And here we see the recoil spring. Essentially, this is what we detensioned earlier when we did that little windy job earlier. And essentially, this catches around the middle of the starting housing. And you can imagine it twists up a load of tension, and the rope fights against that tension. As you pull out your rope, it turns the other way, which obviously extends the spring, and then you go all the way out, and eventually the engine starts or doesn't start, but you get to the end of the rope, and then you let go, and it just turns and pulls the spring back to, obviously wants to go back to untensioned, and so it detensions itself just by spinning. But of course, we're going to have to remove this. It's a real pain, because then we have to wind this into the new one. But Husqvarna, I find this is actually one of the easier ones to do. Some of them you have to get a drill and wind it out in manually, and then use zip ties or something to actually get it into the housing. But this you can actually just straight away just put it straight back into the housing. So let's show you how to do that. So simply, to get it out, make sure that you've got safety protection on. Don't do it like me. But essentially, you've got to try and remove it, usually just with a flat head, and it's so tightly lovely in there. But yeah, we're going to have to get this out, so just gently get underneath it with a flathead screwdriver and simply flick it out, and it should unwind just like that. If you've got under it with the flathead, then it should just unwind, and it should look like this once it's out. Now, you might want to look out for this, where it sort of tangles over each other, so just untangle it. If it's slightly tangled, sometimes it does become a bit tangled after you've removed it from the housing. And do take this opportunity to oil the spring as well. You can actually do it once it's in the housing as well, but it's a good idea to make sure that it's good and oiled so it doesn't snap or anything. And there's the old housing. As you can see, it's pretty worn out. So yeah, let's open up the new one. And it is OEM part number is 503859601, if you were wondering, which I'm sure fits onto quite a few of these bigger Husqvarna chainsaws. And they're usually pretty similar. They're not usually that different from one another. I always find that Husqvarna quite often use similar parts throughout all of their chainsaws. So yeah. This probably would be the same for most Husky saws. And here's the new one. We can just line those up, make sure that it is the same part, which, as you can see, it definitely is. Apart from this one's a lot cleaner, obviously. And so now we can do the hard bit, which is going to be rewinding this spring back into the new housing, the new starter pulley that we have here. So what you want to do is you should be able to locate, there's like a little teardrop here that's located in the corner, and there's a teardrop shaped bit at the end of the spring here, and all you're going to have to do is line the spring up, the spring's end, with that little teardrop, just like that. And once it's in, just give it a little push. And begin winding. And it will pop out as many times as you don't want it to. It is a really annoying thing, these recoil springs, because they just don't want to go back into their housings. But yeah, anyway, I'll probably speed this up, see how long it takes me. And there we go, the spring finally all the way back into its housing. It does take quite a while, but you know, you can get it done. Just keep persevering. Probably one of the most annoying jobs when you're doing these small repairs. But there we go. Don't drop this, because it will spring back out again. So anyway, there we go. Now simply get yourself some 3-in-1 oil, or any lubricant, as long as it's not like a just simple like WD-40 isn't that great for this job, because it evaporates and dries off, and it doesn't actually stay on. Well, 3-in-1 is more of a lubricant, and stays on for a little bit longer. So just give it a little squirt of that, just in this new housing, and that will just keep everything smooth when you're doing your recoil. I'm going to take this opportunity to clean out the inside of here. You don't have to do this, obviously, but I'm going to do it. So, yeah, see you in a second once this, hopefully, is nice and clean. Right, there we go. Just cleaned up the front cover a little bit. Doesn't need much. And then with your 3-in-1 again, just put a bit on the inside of there, just because that's also where the spring is. You can also retie your spring, your rope in at this point. Just be very careful, don't want to lose that spring. And there we go. Just popped up through. And simply tie yourself a little overhand knot. Nice and simple. A little bit more slack just to get that knot in there. You want it to be nice and small and tight. Just need to use something to stop it from going back through again. Just like that. And then just pull the rope. And there we go. Nice and simple like that. Then simply place it in the hole in the housing. Grab yourself the screw like that, and simply there we go. That's the screw in. So that knot's not going to interfere with anything as well. Push it right down in there. And there she goes. All we have to do is tie on the handle just like the other one. Just thread it up through the handle system, just like that. And then simply just tie your little knot. It's pretty simple. A little overhand on that, just like that. That shouldn't come undone. Actually, find the handle one is more likely to come undone than the others. But there we go. And now we can just put on tension onto that spring, and simply all you've got to do, just like we did last time, is we're going to go the opposite to what we did last time. Which, if you look at this, it's going to be clockwise to tension the spring. We're just going to simply wind it up. I usually find that 7 turns is a bit too much, so I do 6.5 turns clockwise on this housing pulley, on the pulley. And I can already feel this is a lot tighter than it was before. simply turn it until it's tight enough. You don't want to go all the way tight because then you'll break the spring, you risk breaking the spring. So 7 turns usually is full extension, so we just want enough that our rope is nice and tight. So that should be good. Then simply untangle the rope, pull it through. Hope it doesn't catch around too many of the obstacles that are everywhere. I think the problem is when it tangles like that, it won't go through the hole. Just flip that around a bit. There we go. A little bit more of a pull, and then just simply release. All that tension should be pulled in by the spring, and there we go. As we can see, there's enough tension. You pull that back and let it flick, and it should flick straight back to where it wants to be. If it's sort of just hanging down like that, then you know you've not got enough tension. But as long as it springs out, and there we go. That is a Husqvarna 372 XP slash 365 XP with the new pulley fitted. I'm going to tighten mine down slightly now, but not too tight because it was definitely not working that well before, but that's perfectly good. Yeah, so that's that replaced into the housing. Now simply all we've got to do is fit it back to the chainsaw by using those 4 screws, and I'll do that now and then we'll wrap up the video. I'll just quickly give you a demonstration of the saw all running. Decompression valve. Sorry there, forgot to pop my decompression valve. There we go. There we go. All repaired Husqvarna 372 XP. If you found this video good, then leave it a like and please do subscribe. Yeah, there we go.